Good evening, everyone. Today, I welcome you all at this webinar on Satyagraha and Global Peace. I request the chairman of our society, Professor S. Narayan sir, to welcome our distinguished guest.
Thank you, Neeraj ji. I welcome all the participants, especially Professor Y.D. Pushar and Sri Dr. Pandav, Padma Shri Dr. Pandav, uh, and Dr. A.K. Pandey and Sri S.K. Uh, Subramaniam Sahab. Subramaniam Sahab is not visible. He is very much in the frame, but he is not visible. So, as you know, that the topic is the theme of our discussion is Satyagraha and the global peace. Satyagraha is an experiment which Gandhi ji did at a larger level in Champaran. But before that, he has also did it in South Africa. So this is a continuity of Satyagraha, and today is the 8th of August when he started Quit India movement. So we decided that considering the importance of Quit India movement, today the subject of the theme of our discussion should be Satyagraha and global peace. Both are equally important in the contemporary global scenario. So we have two the speakers. Today, Professor Y.D. Prasad is a well-known historian and professor of history and has remained director of ANC Institute also. Dr. Pandav is a well-known doctor and he is recipient of Padma Shri. He was in Delhi AIMS and he is also Doctor of President of India. Then we have Dr. A.K. Pandey, of former bureaucrat and our veteran and very much interested in social activities and our research activities. So we think that the inaugural address is to be delivered by Professor Y.D. Prasad. So I will request him to kindly address, he should give his uh, inaugural address. Professor Y.D. Prasad, please.
It's morning here, so good morning, everybody.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Good morning. The subject is very relevant for the present situation, and I would like to rather give it a different character because today is 8th August, and 8th August is very important from the point of view that this is the date when 80 years ago, India, under the leadership of Mahatma Gandhi, resolved to embark on a course that would lead to India's independence. I am stating this because I was struck by the idea that today is the 80th anniversary of Quit India movement.
You able to hear now?
Volume, reduce the volume.
Reduce the volume.
I am audible?
Is it all right?
Yes.
Well, yes.
Yeah. So on 8th August 1942, Exactly 80 years ago, the Indian National Congress, in its Bombay session, passed the resolution which is historic in the sense that it came to be known as Quit India Movement. The Congress passed the resolution
Mic is here. You
under
want to talk?
Gandhi's leadership that the British should quit India and give independence. In a way, this was in line with the Satyagraha movement. We all know that the first Satyagraha in India was experimented by Gandhi at Champaran, Bihar. So Champaran Satyagraha was the first, 1917. It was followed the following year in Ahmedabad, known as Ahmedabad Satyagraha. Then it was at Kheda the same year for the peasants under the leadership of Sardar Patel. This Kheda Satyagraha also brought Sardar Patel close to Dr. Rajendra Prasad. And then finally, we have the fourth one that was following the Jallianwala massacre, Amritsar, 1919. Rowlatt Act, against Rowlatt Act. And so these came to be clubbed as Satyagraha movement. But I think in view of today's importance, I would rather suggest a different point, not different, but slightly a different angle to consider that, the today's scenario is like that of 1942, when the world is threatened by destruction, violence, and in this situation, Satyagraha becomes a weapon for the strong to resolve crisis, conflict. The Ukrainian situation, we all are aware. And I'm mentioning this because in 1942, USA, where I am presently, was also in a very difficult situation because India wanted independence, and for this, Gandhi was seeking American support. But to be honest, even FDR, Franklin D. Roosevelt, the president of USA, was not morally that strong to pressurize Churchill to grant independence to India. And so he wanted that India should first cooperate in war efforts, and then this issue should be raised of independence. But Gandhi wanted that the British should commit India's independence first, and then only India will support war efforts. So people even in USA were not able to understand the Gandhian way of bringing peace. And Gandhi was ridiculed as if he was not understanding the problem properly. So he was very reserved about supporting the Allied powers. But his stand was that since Britain was fighting a war against Nazism, fascism, Britain was in alliance with those powers who supported independence. So indirectly, Britain was committed to grant freedom to her colonies. And in order to have moral strength, Britain must grant independence to India first. So this was the day, 8th August 1942, when at Bombay, the Indian National Congress resolved and passed this resolution, which came to be known as August Resolution or Quit India Movement. And this was, in a way, a Satyagraha movement, mass Satyagraha. It steered the whole country. And all the leaders were arrested on the following day. And even my city, Patna, was greatly disturbed. And a very big memorial was later constructed, came to be known as the sacrifice of 7 students outside the Secretariat building, where the British had to resort to firing on 11th August. And this memorial is there. And in fact, Gandhi's concern was always to maintain global peace. And for this, he resorted to Satyagraha most of the time. And the 1942 Quit India movement had to be called off because violence took everywhere in India. And this was not in tune with Gandhian principle of peaceful agitation. So the Satyagraha came to be a very effective way to make protest against injustice and to protect the freedom of individual as well as the national freedoms. So this day is very remarkable, and that is why I am mentioning this, which the situation resembles today's situation, where Ukraine is being attacked by Russia and its independence is threatened. But USA has a very complex situation to face, where peaceful resolution is not being taken, and an eye for an eye, that principle is being followed, that violence is being met by violence. And so the Satyagraha becomes a very pertinent issue to be decided. And if we want a global peace, Gandhi becomes still relevant in the present situation. And I would like my webinar partners to look at it from this angle also. And Satyagraha was the most potent weapon, peaceful, which was initiated by Gandhi in South Africa. And then when he came to India, he tried this weapon first in Champaran Satyagraha, 1917, and then in 1918, Ahmedabad Satyagraha, followed by Kheda Satyagraha, and then finally against the Roller Act, the Amritsar massacre, and then the Satyagraha in 1919. So Gandhi's concept of global peace was based on the principle that religion has caused a lot of destruction in human history. And this famous poem of Robert Frost, that road not taken, is valid, and he suggested the road not taken should be taken, and a peaceful weapon should be used to preserve global peace. And global peace, as you know, is greatly threatened at this moment, and we all feel the relevance of Gandhian principle of Satyagraha today. So let us, our webinar partners, also look at it from this angle. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for throwing light on the Satyagraha and the global peace. In real situation, the world really needs peace when the Ukraine and USA are at war. Now I think that Sri K. Subramaniam, who is a former BG police and he is a fellow of the Oxford University, and he has done so many works on Gandhi and other topic also. So I would like to request Sri Dr. K. Subramaniam to present his views.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I am a little bit new to this technology. Now, I have heard Professor Prasad with great interest, and what he says is absolutely relevant. But I don't know how, in the context of the conflict between Russia and Ukraine, who will intervene and in what way Satyagraha can be practiced. I do not know, because this is a very same problem that is the conflict between Russia and Ukraine has caused me to worry too much about why Russia is attacking a smaller country than Russia is a superpower. Superpower is spending all its energy in subduing not so superpower as rather a small power. So I am really worried how we can resolve the Ukraine conflict by using non-violence and also Satyagraha. I would like to be enlightened on the subject. Thank you.
Sir, I'm sorry for interruption. Sir, can you put your screen a little down? I'm not able to see your face completely.
I'm so sorry. Can you
Now,
see me?
It's
Okay,
very
okay,
good. This is the view. This
okay.
is the frame I wanted to see you in.
Thank you
Thank you,
very
sir.
much. I'm so sorry.
You have to see
Thank you.
yourself, man. Your photo is there, you see yourself.
Well, that's a problem which, in fact, as a practicing police officer for several years, including 34 years, let us say, I have worked on conflict resolution within India, not between India and other countries. And my own concern has been to make it as peaceful as possible. Not Satyagraha as such, because we don't practice Satyagraha in the government. Government has nothing but indifference towards Satyagraha as such. But our job as a police officer, my job is mainly to reduce violence in society and also to help people to lead a peaceful life. That's what we have been doing all our lives. So uh, I cannot really comment on what is happening in Ukraine and Russia. I would leave that topic, not my area of concern. But if I can talk on what I have done in my own life, how conflict has been resolved or attempted to be resolved, how people are made to feel more happy in society and so on, then I can talk about it. Thank you. But there are so many others, they'll also like to speak. Mr. Cheladurai, I hear him, I see him. And Ashish Nadiraj is also there. And Professor Pandav is there. And Sarina, others are there. Pandey Saab is there. I don't know. I can't see his face. So how do
So,
we go about Satyagraha for the conflict between Russia and Ukraine? I don't know whether that's a topic which we can engage in.
no, 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 that is just in between it has come, but the topic, as you
Okay.
know, the topic is Satyagraha and the global peace.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you can say anything on Gandhi or Satyagraha or global peace. That's a
Well,
just we mentioned.
now let the others speak and I can hear what they say, what they have to say.
So you want to hear others?
That is my, yeah, I'd like to hear other people.
I don't want to derail the
Okay,
discussion
okay.
because it's
No, I have a lot
another
of
angle.
experience. I have a lot of
Okay, okay.
experience,
Now
but I'll
you
talk later.
see,
Yeah.
Professor Chelladurai has joined just now. I welcome him, and we are very happy that he joined us. He's a Gandhian, very great Gandhian, and I hope that he will do justice with the theme that is the Satyagrah and world peace, global peace. So, Chelladurai Sahab, would you like to say on the theme? Can you hear me?
Oh yes, Namaskaram.
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 Uh, Greetings from Mahatma Gandhi Mission University, of which I am a part, and it is a joy that I am invited to be part of this discussion. I will be glad to contribute in a small way my understanding of Satyagraha for global peace or in the context of global peace in the 21st century. I will certainly contribute. When it is time, I will step into share my point. Hello.
Yes.
Sir,
Do
can
you
I
want me
speak?
to speak now or
Yes, please
Yes.
do.
later?
I want. Yes. Yes. Please speak now.
Okay,
Because
okay. Actually, I have little audio difficulty. I don't know whether my voice is reaching properly, but I am unable to hear you. There is a lot of disruption. I need few minutes to set right my system so that my talk will not be interrupted. Kindly give me a few minutes. You can ask Leonard, other
Okay, okay,
participants
okay.
to step in. I will come back in few minutes.
I
Okay,
am
I am
hearing
here.
actually.
please, please, please go ahead.
Can I speak,
Now,
sir?
yes, yes, please, please. Dr. Pandav, you please go ahead with your presentation.
Namaste, namaskar, namaskaram. Actually, what I'm wearing as a stole around my shoulder, it says that I love my India, Jai Hind.
Very good.
So there is a lot of enthusiasm in the capital city of New Delhi. We are celebrating the 75th year of the independence of India. So there is a lot of enthusiasm in the city. Har Ghar Tiranga is a major campaign. You must have seen it, Har Ghar Tiranga. Uh, I want to just make two small statements. Professor Narayan,
Yes.
I have gone through the list of topics that you have selected in the last few years, and I must congratulate you and your team for selecting such excellent topics for discussion. Society for Empowerment should be congratulated and doing exemplary work under your leadership. तो आपको हम अभिनंदन करते हैं.
बहुत
आपको
बहुत
अभिनंदन.
धन्यवाद आपको, बहुत धन्यवाद आपको, और आपका सहयोग हम लोगों को मिलता है, तो उससे हम लोग को ऊर्जा मिलती है और कार्यक्रम को करने के लिए.
और आज के we have a galaxy of speakers from different parts of the world. डॉक्टर वाईदेव प्रसाद आपका स्पेशल थैंक्स. 5:30 बजे आप सुबह उठ के हमारे साथ मिलजुल गए, तो आपका स्पेशल थैंक्स फॉर joining us.
Yeah.
You sent me in a state of introspection when I was looking at this topic on Satyagraha and global peace. I was reminded by a quotation from Mark Twain. I quote Mark Twain. He said, India is the cradle of the human race, the birthplace of human speech, legend, and the great grandmother of tradition. Our most valuable and most instructive materials in the history of man are treasured up in India only. Mark Twain said that. And before I come to my formal presentation, I want to have a quote from Albert Einstein, what Albert Einstein said, that for generation to come will scarcely believe that such a one as this ever in flesh and blood walked upon on this earth. A deceptively simple man, Gandhiji overturned the greatest empire the world has ever seen. I'm very impressed by Albert Einstein's quote, which all of you must be familiar. I have a formal presentation with different outlines, but I'm going to share with you my personal experience in this story. The first, Dr. Pandey, Dr. Prasad, you give an excellent historic evolution of Satyagraha in India, 1917, 1918, 1919. I'm going to take a step further to 1930, the famous salt Satyagraha. Actually, as you know, 79 people participated in this Satyagraha, 79. The age range was 61. Gandhiji was 61 years old, and the youngest person who participated in Satyagraha was only 16 years old. 16 years old. And most of the participants were residents of Ahmedabad Sabarmati Ashram. There was a strict criteria as to who would participate in the Satyagraha. As you all know, it started on March 12, 1930, and it finished on 6th April at at uh, at the place where Mahatma Gandhi picked up a salt at the place called Dandi, and it took 24 days. Now, as you know, I'm called the Iodine Man of India, so I'm very intimately associated with salt and iodized salt. I've written this publication, which reads as "Salt for Freedom" and iodized salt for freedom from preventable brain damage. I want to share with our esteemed guests and the listeners that iodine deficiency is the single most important cause of brain damage. And iodized salt prevents that brain damage. I worked for the last 45 years on making sure that not only in India but globally people consume iodized salt. And I'm very proud to say that India is a leader today. 93% of the population is consuming iodized salt, 93%. You all must be familiar with Swami Vivekananda's quote, which also said, in 21st century, Mera Bharat Vishwaguru Banega. So we are a Vishwaguru in the story of iodized salt. That's why I'm called the iodine man of India, and the government of India very kindly confirmed Padma Shri on me in 2021. Being a doctor, I also want to remind you what Bapuji said. Bapuji said that it is health that is real wealth and not pieces of gold and silver. It is health that is real wealth, not pieces of gold and silver. Now, coming to Bapuji's story of Satyagraha, actually, you all must know, I am talking to the younger students, that Satya ka Agraha. Satya is truth, Agraha means insistence of holding firmly. I think it's an extremely unique strategy which Gandhiji evolved. I don't know where he got this idea of Satyagraha. I'm sure some of our scholars, learned scholars, would give us, let me know about this. Where did he get this idea of Satyagraha? Now, today, the world is witnessing wars everywhere. Ukraine, Russia is only one place. There's an internal strife taking place in Sri Lanka. There is a major conflict between China and Taiwan, in which United States and India is also getting involved. There's a major problem in the Middle East, which is perpetuating for a long period of time. So there is a burning fire all over the all over the world. So that's why the topic suggested by Professor Narayan, that Satyagraha and the relevance of Satyagraha in the global peace. There's terrorism which is being used everywhere, either with enthusiasm or with fear. In recent years, we have witnessed terrorist violence affecting almost all countries. Even the so called advanced and affiliated countries are suffering from the terrorism. There's a tremendous advancement in science and technology. This has helped the arms industry to produce massive quantities of lethal weapons. Same weapons are being purchased by different terrorist organizations, and they are using them to execute their satanic designs. Countries in the world are facing both internal and external crises. Sri Lanka crisis, as I mentioned to you, farmers issue in India, Myanmar crisis, Russia-Ukraine war, India, China, Taiwan, USA axis, Israel, and the Middle East. In a stage of such offer, can the way shown by Gandhi be relevant? Can his Satyagraha ideology be applied to tackle such kind of problems? The answer is capital yes, it is possible. Gandhiji is a global figure. He is rarely studied and analyzed from a global perspective. As a global thinker with a franchise, with a trans-historical influence, Gandhi applied his experience with truth and violence, both at the individual level but also in the process of global affairs. I studied at the National Model School, Aga Khan Palace, which is located in Aga Khan Palace. And as you know, Dr. Yuvraj, Dr. Y.D. De Prasad told us that 8th August is an important day today. Quit India movement took place. Gandhiji was arrested on 8th of August and he was put in jail in Aga Khan Palace. That is where I studied. From 1963 to 1969, 6 years I studied there. That also happens to be the place where Kasturba Gandhi, she passed on. So did Gandhi's secretary, Mr. Desai. So I've grown up in a Gandhian culture where he was imprisoned and where Kasturba Gandhi and Mr. Desai passed away in that area. I also spent a lot of time in East January Mahal. where Gandhiji was assassinated. And thus I very closely lived with Bapuji's places, important places. The heart of Gandhiji's ethics of interconnectedness and mutuality was to look within oneself, change oneself, and then change the world. He said, be the change you want to say. That is to stay at the more fundamental level for Gandhiji. Cultures and nations were not isolated entities. They all played a special role in the making of human history. The world is a family. Vasudeva Kutumbakam. Bapuji said this all along. Gandhiji rarely spoke in terms of linear history. He rarely spoke in terms of linear history. For Gandhiji, every culture, including our own, was the same as his goal toward the individual to find the truth and establish peace. Gandhi's way to open up the world to harmonic exchange and transformative dialogue among nations as a more philosophical level. Gandhiji believed that every culture should learn from each other. He himself tried to do so either through his ashramite or communal experience in South Africa or in India directly in his political experience with British organizers. Such a dialogical attitude conducted by Gandhiji at the deepest level, in a spirit of genuine reciprocity and solidarity, was not only a moral requirement but also a geopolitical necessity. Gandhi's consumption of enlarged pluralism took on the task of clustering togetherness and solidarity among cultures and traditions in the interest of democratizing movement and bringing about a more just global order. One reason why Gandhiji was able to do this was that he had political and cultural pluralism in his bones and never made a mistake for rejecting or underestimating other traditions or his approach to truth and his stress on nonviolence. He was very inclusive. Gandhiji was prepared to learn from others, he listened to others, and he included that as very well. The major people who have learned from Gandhiji in the 20th century were Khan Abdul Ghaffar Khan in Afghanistan, Martin Luther King, United States of America, Nelson Mandela in South Africa. I want to share with these esteemed speakers that I had the opportunity to spend a day with Nelson Mandela in Bangladesh way back in 1995, wherein Aquino from Philippines and many others. So many of the leaders around the globe took inspiration from Bapuji and his method of Satyagraha. Gandhi's nonviolence was already invoked during his lifetime by Khan Abdul Khan, also known as the Frontier Gandhi. Martin Luther King Jr. actually came to India. He studied Gandhism and he spent a lot of time with Mahatma Gandhi. Nelson Mandela, whom I had the chance to meet in Bangladesh and spend a day, also was an authentic exemplification in African continent. There is no easy walk to freedom. Nelson Mandela said, there is no easy walk to freedom anywhere. Many of us will have to pass through the valley of the shadows of death again and again. We reach the mountain top of our desires, proclaimed Mandela in a Gandhian manner. In South Africa, many Indians went to the experience of Gandhiji. He was the first unalterable belief in God. Gandhi, God was the truth. Gandhiji set about to discover love in the battle of weak against the strong. Discoveries came to him one after the other. The weak must not surrender. The weak must not obey. So these are some of the principles which Bapuji had said. And Dr. Prasad, sir, you really covered very in a brief span of time the historic evolution of Satyagraha in India. And that was a very important thing. You reminded us about the Quit India movement, 8th of August 1942. And what astonished the world was that when the British left India, it became independent. There was no bitterness left in the minds of either India or England. Two mighty powers today, United States of America, Russia, and now China, because they possess atomic weapons of incalculable distributed power. We are seeing the emergence of China as a world problem. So today I can say with confidence, Gandhian nonviolence has been instrumental in political transition from oppressive methods to those of peace. Long gone are the days when the concept of revolution was synonymous with violent struggles from below and armed efforts at state. 70 years after Gandhiji's death, opinions and views about him and nonviolent struggle remain deeply divided. But one thing is certain, Gandhi had a global impact on the transformation of human societies at the time. Gandhiji, in short, was a leader with a global cause. He found it in Satyagraha and ultimately beyond the independence of India in the legal of non-violence. So thank you so much, sir, for giving me a chance to present my views. My life has been associated with Bapuji. As I said, in Aga Khan Palace, he was imprisoned in August 1942, where Kasturba Gandhi passed on, so did Mohan Desai. I spent a lot of time in the general remark and my professional life, that of ensuring iodized salt for all the population, took his inspiration from 1930 salt satyagraha, salt for freedom, and iodized salt for freedom from brain damage. Thank you so much. Shukriya.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Pandav. Padma Shri Dr. Pandav, thank you very much for making a very uh, learned presentation and give us some information about your association with Aga Khan Palace. Aga Khan Palace and iodine as an iodine man means what salt can make a change in the life of the common man that's very important that you have linked it with the Gandhiji and global peace. Gandhiji, of course, really a global leader, and Satyagraha also has become global because of him, Gandhiji. Otherwise, Satyagraha would not have been that global importance. Only few months back, I got a book from one of a person who is a Gandhian by from the very beginning of his life, and he is from Israel. So he has a lot of experience of war and all that, and he is also UNO's peace farmer. So he has written a book, and there he has talked about of the global peace and how to attain it. He has given so much prescriptions, but I think that those prescriptions, some of them are practical, but most of them are bookish, means that good for book but not for the day-to-day life. Now we have another good speaker comes from the Gandhian institution, and Professor Chella Durai. So I will request him to enlighten us with his knowledge on Satyagraha and global peace.
Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible.
Thank you. Thank you. Greetings to the learned scholars and my friends. I first of all thank Professor Narayan for organizing such a wonderful program on a pertinent topic at the right time and inviting such dedicated people from all over India and across to contemplate upon. I also greet the learned scholars who are speaking on this occasion. I am very sorry that I joined late because of a number of programs in the university. I was called by the chancellor's office. In the last moment, I had no other option but to go, and I feel guilty that I joined late. I believe that you pardon me for coming late. Satyagraha is a methodology that Gandhi employed in the field of politics and demonstrated that we can heal major problems without hurting. without hurting others. That is well demonstrated and the globe accepted. We heard from the other speakers how the world took it wholeheartedly to address their own regional or local problems across the world. Uh, Gandhi very clearly said, life cannot go independently. It is a collective game. It is we are social being not because we live in society, but because we don't know to live otherwise. It is, I mean, now sociology has come to believe that society is an organism. It is a living body of which we are all integral part, and the individual experiences life both as an individual and as a society. So individual is a miniature of the condensed version of the society. It is believed, and that is why we are called social being. When this is the truth, we cannot afford to take any course to solve our problem that will be hurting the society or part of the society. We cannot do that. If we understand the society and its dynamics, we will certainly come to this belief that any killing is suicidal, any hurting is self-infliction, because it bounces back. If I hurt someone, it is not only hurting to somebody else. It may hurt the body of the person, but also demonstrate to the world that this way you can dominate. So the people around uh, learn from the action, my action of violence, that you can employ violence and win at the individual level. So uh, thereby they may employ it at a later time in a context in which I am at the receiving end. It is bound to happen because we are all interrelatedly caused, and we cannot escape the society and its repercussions. And now we all have very thoroughly convinced that we are global being, that we are even at the smallest level talking to each other only through the global cooperation. We maybe 100, 200 people are assembling to listen to one another, but no less than 1 million people are collaborating on the sides to make our conversation possible. Each and every aspect of our life, whether it is our bed, our dietetic requirements, or cosmetic requirements, textile requirements, everything is coming today through global cooperation. And global human society has become one body. In such condition, if we still believe that we can solve our problem using violence, it is because of our small mind. We don't understand what we are. Tattvamasi is a very essential exercise of growing into complete human being. We need to know what we are. And if I know that I am a global being, I am integrally connected to the global society, then violence ceases to be the methodology. Gandhi often and again reiterated that the whole journey of civilization is one of non-violence. We learn to live as a hunter-gatherer in small clans and communities, and down the line, immediately after the Ice Age, when the last civilizational journey started, uh, uninterrupted. Uh, uh, we are the beneficiary of that fruit. In that the beginning of that civilization, people lived in the small group of 50, 100, and they couldn't even understand that other communities are also human beings. Head hunting came into a legitimate practice because they honestly thought other than the 100 people in their community are all enemies. But the civilization gave us that insight to believe that others also human beings, others have the right to live, and others not only have the right to live, they have the potential to help us. They can be complementary to us. Differences complement. differences that are around are not contradictory, they are complementary. We learned so that a small clan became communities, or princely states, or federations, nations, and a global community. The expanse of the habitation, demographic unit signifies the maturity of individuals to be in a larger community, accommodating each other, tolerating each other. So Gandhi was very right. Civilization is a continuous journey of our progress in non-violence. We cannot deny it. Democracy, republic, the idea of republic, secularism are all matured understanding of a human being living together. They are essential social values. So Gandhi insisted, why not we do understand the idea of non-violence more deeper and take it to the next level. I mean, Gandhi is remembered for his uniqueness. That uniqueness is not that he introduced non-violence, which he said non-violence and truth are as old as the Himalayas, but the application he evolved. He translated the idea of non-violence into a large-scale application in the systems, in the structures, which was unheard of earlier. And if we want to understand the structural nonviolence, we should read J.C. Kumarappa's Economy of Permanence, or at the global level, The Small is Beautiful by E.F. Schumacher. We understand how economy can be non-violating. In a republican country like ours, we have decided there shouldn't be one monarch, one rule, one ruler, because we are all born equal. We are all children of God, children of the same Mother India. We have equal rights. So each one of us is sovereign, and together we make the nation, we make the state. And so we are all equal stakeholders, and that is the idea. We want this nation, we want this structure, we want this system. That is the idea of republic, in which democracy is a very effective tool to render justice and equality to all the people, so that everyone live in great dignity, self-esteem. And to do that, we need to optimize the structure. It is very important. If the political systems and structures are to serve the people who made that structure or who subscribe to that structure, then the structure has to be in a size and a complication that is understandable to the members. If we have created a political structure, a administrative structure with a series of hierarchies to serve the people, and that structure is beyond the common man's ability to comprehend, then that structure is violative structure. Non-violence or violence need to be understood from the word violation. Violation is the point Gandhi was focusing on. We should create, or we should maintain a strict system and a structure that is non-violative of the fundamental principle. Equality, justice to all, right to life to all. Then we cannot have an economy that, even through legitimate means, can offer opportunities to a section and leave away the rest to fend for themselves. That structure is violated. Gandhi said it hurts. So he was talking about optimized political structures, optimized economic structures. He called it a village republic, or Swadeshi economy, many such systems and structures. And at the global level, uh, although the idea did not percolate in the with the same intensity or the spirit, it has nevertheless inspired quite a lot of people, uh, parallelly or because of Gandhi. One such structure is United Nations. We may have lot of grievance against the United Nations, how incapacitated it is, how it is reduced to a spectator. But uh, in spite of all its weaknesses, it is a demonstration of human will to explore the possibility of deciding or determining the fate of the humanity together. We need to nurture. We need to nurture. That is very essential. I mean, I don't want to go into the complication of UN and its instruments, but I would like to stick to the idea of Satyagraha. Uh, when Gandhi said Satyagraha, he was convinced with certain fundamental factors like uh, uh, we are all born with a innate capacity to be divine. That was a fundamental belief. We are all the children of God, children of the Mother Earth, or creation of nature, whatever it be. But we are all endowed with certain innate potential to be divine. He said human beings are essentially good, and all are uh, because of our finite nature susceptible to error. We are likely to err. Uh, we are all endowed with divine potential, essentially good, uh, uh, likely to err, and amenable to truth, susceptible to error, and amenable to truth. If truth is informed, everyone will accept because we are essentially good. This is something that we need to explore at this hour. In 21st century, we need to explore this because the major challenges that we face, whether it is international war, international terrorism, or now we are observing the no bomb week. Hiroshima Nagasaki Day calls us to commit once again or reiterate our commitment to no atomic bomb, no war condition. Uh, Such major challenges have their root in individual mind that we need to accept. Uh, if I think I can hate my enemy, if I think those who are uh, standing against my position, against my interest, are enemies, I can brand them as enemies, I can hate them, I can suspect them, and I can uh, legitimately eliminate them. If I can think like this in my mind, even if I do not execute it because of my fear or inability, my uh, uh, mediocre consciousness, even if I do not execute it, but I think that this fellow is my enemy, I hate this fellow, then I am also subscribing, or I am also contributing the execution of nuclear bomb. I am also party to the crime of Hiroshima and Nagasaki because we are society, our individual thought accumulates, snowballs into major action. The leaders decide the way the subjects think. So it is very important we introduce the idea of Satyagraha, which is not just a methodology of fighting against the wrong. It is not just a conflict methodological tool, but a phenomenon that has to be introduced. As our learned speakers, Prasadji and Pandeyji recollected, that Satyagraha means insistence on truth. It is actually insistence on life because Gandhi said, uh, my truth, in the absolute sense, is truth, the all encompassing reality, but in the finite sense, in the concrete sense, is life because life is the closest manifestation of the truth. Life exists, life is real. That which real is Satya or Satya, so life is real. So we need to insist upon that life, and to insist as part of insistence on life, we need to commit to the righteous way that itself is Satyagraha. If a a kind of negating, exclusive thought comes into my mind, and I remind myself, John, you are digressing, you are going astray, you come back to the path of oneness. Then I am a Satyagrahi. I am a Satyagrahi at my level. And to that extent, I uh, recourse the journey of to that extent, even it may be at the micro level, but certainly at the level, I contribute to the recourse of human civilization, human journey in non-violence. That is very important. So today, if we have accepted a global uh, living, then violence is a idea of small mind, because we will not throw stone within our own home. We will not take a dagger within our own home. To that extent, we have risen. We have risen. So, in such a situation, non-violence is inevitable. Non-violation is inevitable, and we need to understand life is the truth, and all that contributes to protect, promote, preserve life are aspects of truth. If we understand that, then we will get into non-violation naturally, because we are all practicing non-violence. When my friend commits a mistake which affected me, I smile. If the same mistake is committed by a stranger and I am affected, I stare at the person. Why this double standard? The simple reason is, in the first case, I know the other party. I want the other party. The other party is an integral part of me. Then my reaction is non-violative. It is one of endearing. It is high time that Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam is understood in the socio-economic, political, ecological, and spiritual sense, and I am integral part of it. If we raise to the level, then the idea of hatred will vanish from us. And that is the story Gandhi gave. With this anecdote, I will stop. Once Reverend Stanley Jones, a Methodist priest, came from US with his 10 theologian colleagues, and he met Gandhi in Sevagram ashram, and he was so inspired by Reverend John Haynes Holmes, who spoke in New York church uh, 21 Sundays consecutively on Gandhi, and he said that was in 1920, early 20s, 21st, 22nd, 23rd. During that time, Reverend Holmes spoke on 21 Sundays about Gandhi and told his congregation, if you want to see a living Christ, go to India. And that is how Reverend Jones came. And he told Gandhi that 2000 years before, Jesus Christ told, love your enemy. Love your enemy. What better non-violent message could you give? That was a challenge he gave to Gandhi. Gandhi paused for a minute and then said, I have no enemy. I have no enemy. There is a world of difference in the two statements. If I have to love my enemy, first I have to create an enemy. I have to brand someone as my enemy. Then my religious, spiritual consciousness come. No, 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 no. You should not hate him. You should love him. But once we create an enemy, then our love is parrot like. I mean, it is dogmatic. It is very, very, very customary. The idea is that I don't have an enemy. That is very important. So, in the civilizational journey, we saw that there was a time we loved us, our people, and hated all others. And then there was a growth. We loved us and loved our neighbors, but hated our enemies. Then came the idea, no, 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 enemies also are worthy. They are worthy of loving. And the message came, love your enemy. But now we have to believe that we cannot brand anyone as enemy. Everyone is a stakeholder. somehow or other, in the complex fabric of global society, everyone contributes to my goodness, your goodness. Everyone is contributing to everybody else. So we cannot have an idea of enemy that means self betrayal. So every killing is suicidal, every hurting is a self infliction. To that extent, we have come in such a situation. Non violative methodology is the right methodology, and for which we need to understand we have no enemy, and that is what is called truth. If we believe, then that is the agraha with which we can uh, progress. Satyagraha is a way of life that is very essential. It is not our great heartedness that we are accepting Satyagraha. There is no escape otherwise. That is what I learned. And thank you very much that you allowed me to share my perspective. I am ready to respond if there is any challenge. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Don. Uh, you have given a very thought-provoking uh, input to us, Chadladuri Sahab. So once again, I thank you on behalf of society for coming today and joining us. Hope in future also you will be extending your support to the society. So you are very right that Gandhi ji has no enemy, and having no enemy is itself suggest for Satyagraha. If you are on truth, then you are a Satyagrahi. Should follow truth and should lead the life, and you should treat others also with truthfulness. So this is the basic principle of life of Satyagraha. But Satyagraha, as you said in the beginning, that it is a methodology. Gandhiji initially used Satyagraha as a methodology for getting independence to the country, and methodology for getting equal rights when he was in South Africa. So from there he started, and there he started when he was thrown out of the train. But even today, if you go to the place where Gandhiji was living, or Gandhiji was thrown out, thrown out from the train, then you will find people are very much loving, and they are as good as the people of Champaran. Why I say Champaran means in Champaran also people are very simple, and they are ready to serve the people. If you go even in late night, they will receive you, and they will talk about Gandhiji. Whether they are directly, they don't have any interaction with Gandhiji, but you see the Gandhiji's impact of living there for such a long time is that he is even by the great grandson of the persons who stayed with Gandhi, who fought with the Gandhi, fought for the freedom of the country with Gandhiji. The poor tribals like Tharus, they are there. If you spend time with them, you will see that they they remember what Gandhiji did and how Satyagraha was made successful with the participation of the people. When the participation of the people comes, then it's a methodology. How you are convincing people, how you are attracting people, how you are explaining the purpose of the Satyagraha. Satyagraha must have a purpose. Otherwise, it's not Satyagraha. What we see today, that everybody sit on dharna and say that it is Satyagraha, that is not Satyagraha. Satyagraha must be peaceful, and it must have certain objective for the development of the society, for the development of the country, for the development of the people. Only then it is Satyagraha. Otherwise, it is not Satyagraha. And what Gandhiji practiced today is the Quit India Movement Day. Professor Prasad has very rightly said in his inaugural address about today the importance of Quit India movement, and related it with the freedom movement, and your emphasis on the human being is a great really something great. So, with these, I would like to request now Dr. A.K. Pandey, who is a former IAS, but he has been more contributing towards education and development of the society, and he is also patron of us. So, I will request him now to say to wind up the whole session to the valedictory address, because Subramaniam Sahab, would you like to say something, or we should go for valedictory?
No, I can make a small contribution
Please, go ahead.
before Mr. Pandey, because
Uh,
my own experience in my profession, which
uh,
is basically administrative profession, I worked in many areas in India, north, east, south, and Punjab, and also other parts, Delhi, for example, and these places. And my basic job was conflict resolution. Now I hear, after listening to some of friends here, that I am also a Satyagrahi in a way, because what we do in order to prevent conflict, in order to promote peace and promote friendship between people in different parts of the country, we are also contributing, we are also Satyagrahis in a real sense. And that way I am very happy that people who participated here have spoken about Satyagraha and also about the role of Gandhi. What I want to say is, Gandhiji died shortly after independence, but who were the Gandhians who followed him and carried forward the problem of the strategy, as you call it, Satyagraha and so on? Only Jayaprakash Narayan was there. He lived up to 1979 and did a major contribution. I think Jayaprakash ji is as big a personality and a leader as Jawaharlal Nehru, for example. But even more than the Jawaharlal Nehru, because he never accepted any official position. So Jayaprakash Narayan is extremely important, and we must pay respects to him and also tribute to him as a Satyagrahi as well as a peace-loving person. And apart from Jayaprakash Narayan, there is Vinobaji. Vinobaji also is very, very important. Gandhian thinker and also a Gandhian Satyagrahi and so on. And Vinobaji, and then the institutions have been created. Gandhi Peace Foundation, where I have I wanted to read a book on Gandhi. The only library which had a copy of that book was Gandhi Peace Foundation. So that way, I'm very happy Gandhi Peace Foundation is making major contribution. Gandhi Peace Foundation as well as Gandhi Darshan Samiti, they are also extremely important agencies. But today in India, not many people talk about Gandhi. Not many people want to pay tributes to Gandhi. That is something very tragic. I think we need to think why Gandhi is not respected, yes, in a sense, in a symbolic sense, but what is the Gandhian practice? The practice is missing. Unless the practice is revived and we are able to produce some serious work in the name of Gandhi, as well as Satyagraha activities and so on, we are not going to go very forward. For example, when I worked in the Northeast, for example, I found there is a lady who went on fast for 16 years. This lady, she was demanding the removal of Armed Forces Special Powers Act from Northeast, and Government of India never agreed to. How can it? We say that we are a Gandhian society. Gandhi is the national father of the nation. What Gandhian practice have we done in the Northeast, for example, where I have been there? And then the Armed Forces Special Powers Act is a very, very serious law, and it's not been removed. In spite of the lady practicing Satyagraha for 16 years, she went on a fast on Satyagraha, and her request for the removal of the Armed Forces Special Powers Act was not accepted. Other people have been killed. Repeatedly, people have been killed and shot dead by armed forces. They are all Satyagrahis in a real sense. And their contribution has not been really accepted in our country. That is a very tragic thing for me, at least as a person who worked in the government. I've seen what is going on all around. It makes me very painful that Gandhi and Gandhi's message is not being followed in India itself. That is the home of his Mahatma Gandhi. Where is Gandhism in India today? I am serious doubt whether Gandhi is accepted in terms of real life at all. Maybe symbolically, yes, he is the father of the nation, everybody pays tribute. Even our present Prime Minister, who does not belong to the same philosophy which Gandhi had, still he has to symbolically pay tribute to Gandhi. Now that is nothing but hypocrisy. But they need to do it because they want to stay in power. That's the tragedy of India today. But we have worked on it. For example, my most recent experience is that I try to bring peace between India and China, India and Pakistan, India and Nepal. These are all satyagrahic activities. These are activities in which we can take happiness to some extent. We are humble people. We are not holding high political office, but we are, as scholars, we can contribute. My visit to China was very most useful. My visit to Nepal was extremely good. Then Pakistan. Pakistan is such a useful, close neighbor of India, and we don't have a good, peaceful relations with them. Why? We are a big country. We can easily be friendly with Pakistan, equally with China. I don't see that. Um, I don't want to blame China or of India, but both countries are big countries, populous countries, tremendous talent in both countries. We have to be friends. So I feel that Satyagraha, in that sense, has very great relevance. And Gandhi also is extremely important and extremely relevant. Let us follow Gandhi. Why can't we do that? Why can't we follow Gandhian policy on China? What about Gandhian policy in Nepal? What about Gandhian policy in Pakistan? These are all things which we need to think about, talk about, discuss. I'm glad you're organizing a wonderful discussion. It's I'm very happy to hear the discussion. So we have to discuss more. We have to analyze more, and we have to learn more, and also to invite people from different parts of the world. They all can come and contribute our thinking on Gandhi as well as on Satyagraha. The tremendous opportunity. That is why I feel I'm so happy, and I'm also grateful to Professor Narayan for organizing this discussion and bringing people, most interesting people who are here today, and they are all talking very nicely. And that is why I said, I'll talk. I would like to talk, but I would like to hear first other people, what other people have to say. I'm learning from them and remaining again. Mr. Pandey, I don't know which cadre he's from, whether he's from UP or Madhya Pradesh or Bihar or his place.
Jharkhand,
I'm,
Jharkhand.
you're from Jharkhand was not Jharkhand is earlier part of Bihar, isn't it?
Yes,
So
this
I'm
one.
glad that you're there. It's very nice to hear you. I don't know which year of IAS are you from? Which year, which batch of IAS are
81,
you from?
1981. Hello.
सुब्रमण्यम साहब, नीरज जी का उनका क्या डिस्कनेक्ट हो गए?
यस सर,
Disconnect.
उनका उनका डिस्कनेक्ट हो गया सर।
वीडियो डिस्कनेक्टेड है।
वीडियो डिस्कनेक्टेड है। यस सर, मतलब कनेक्ट हुए हैं बट वीडियो डिस्कनेक्ट हो गया सर।
Oh, जो Subramanian Sahab, can you hear me? Hello, Dr. Subramaniam, can you hear me? Yes, it seems that he got disconnected. Anyway, now he is not there, but you see, I just wanted to add what he has said. Two things which I want to add. That one thing is that Gandhi ji, whatsoever may be the opinion of the people, but the present government is not means rather I can say that they are always they have given me freedom to work on Gandhi. There is nothing like that Gandhi has a subject of sacrosanct or something like that. It's not that. The second thing is that there are some people who are still leading the life of Gandhi. There is one community, tribal community called the Tana Bhagat, who are the living Gandhians, whom I call as living Gandhians. Then there are some tribes in Chhattisgarh, one tribe in Chhattisgarh who are leading the life of the Gandhi, and they still believe that Gandhi is alive and Gandhi will come. So these two tribal groups, and one is in Maharashtra. So these three tribal communities, they need a better exposure on media so that people can understand and can realize that yes, we the urban centric people have lost the Satyagraha or the Gandhi or something like that. We do not. We have a lot of discussion whether Gandhi what did Gandhi was correcting or not correcting, that all those things are there. But these tribal groups have uh, firm belief in Gandhiji. They not only lead the life of Gandhiji, but they believe in Gandhiji. They eat whatsoever they grow. They drink the water from their well, not even the hand pump is they are using. So, and these areas are surrounded by the Naxal groups or terrorist groups, but they are least affected by these groups. They come, they beat them, but they just uh, very happily they uh, behave with them. They never quarrel or they never fight with them. So that group is there. Those three tribals groups are there in India whom I call as living Gandhians. And I have written a book also that is Naxalism, Maoism, and the Gandhian people. That was published here. So, John Sahab, you had some questions you wanted to say something more.
I just wanted to, respond to you said that Satyagraha is a methodology that is true. But if we look into life, conflict occurs as in the form of uh, behavioral contradictions, negations, like exploitation or political domination. That is one way. The second is it comes as a very subtle systemic negations, like
Yeah.
a hostile economy or discriminative economy or a discriminatory social practice because of the tradition and culture. And trying to reform is essentially a fight against the past and endeavor to create a new thing. It is a very constructive aspect of Satyagraha.
Hmm.
Constructive program is actually a Satyagraha in the systemic sense. So, Satyagraha in the etymological sense is insistence on truth in our thought and actions, not only at the personal level, at the social, at the larger level. So, we cannot confine it to political struggle alone. Of course, that is a very important aspect. When you want to lead an inclusive life with a profound fundamentals, and you encounter certain political challenges, your expression, a truthful non-violent expression, is called Satyagraha. When you respond to a systemic exploitation uh, in a non-violent inclusive way, we call it constructive program. But both are essentially Satyagraha. We cannot that is what I wanted to share uh,
Thank you.
as
Thank
a
you. Thank
response.
you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Now, then, if there is any question, it's okay. Otherwise, uh, Dr. A.K. Pandey will give the valedictory address. Dr. Pandey, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor Narayan, for giving me opportunity on today's webinar, Satyagraha and Global Peace. As we all know that the anniversary of Quit India movement has been today. I wish to add that there was another global event whose anniversary is today. That is final jolt of Second World War. On 6th and 8th August, two atomic warheads were thrown on Japan, one on Hiroshima and another on Nagasaki. So that is what closed the total war position in the world and put Japan on knees. And After that, World War II went to an end. This single event with Gandhi's Satyagraha has stirred my mind, my whole thought process, what I had prepared for today. Perhaps Satyagraha as a weapon, as we were thinking in the past, in the last webinar, Satyagraha as a weapon was rightfully invention of Mahatma Gandhi. And it worked very well. It functioned very well. I quote our defense advisor, national security advisor, Ajit Doval. He had said at one place that world doesn't remember justice, beauty, knowledge, all those things, but it definitely remembers winners. And Gandhi, the principles which he started, which he pleaded, took him to victory. And that is the beauty of the things of those opportunities. He said, if you pursue, simple, if you pursue truth and truth known to everybody, truth acceptable to everybody, then you don't have fear and you don't have hesitation before anybody else. When he went to meet King of England, and that king which was ruling half of the planet, 50% of the earth, one day he was told that yes, king has accepted to give you some time, and a list was given that how he should go, what he should wear, and how he should be. But till the last day, he didn't change his attire. He just went like that. And king, he accepted that, okay, I relax all those rules, I will meet him. And as he entered and talks started, king said, Mr. Gandhi, why you wear such an half attire? Don't you have good clothes? Mr. Gandhi said, yes, sir, I don't have good clothes because my whole country has been looted so much that there is dearth of class. Such a strong truth in the face of the person who was ruling half the world. Gandhi was there because he was with the truth. Now, to continue with that truth, he started his movement, one of the other, got success. Now, I don't want to repeat, sorry, that I appreciate very much the Dadi movement. Just put a piece of salt and that shatters the British government because their revenue was being affected and they had no other way. Why? In government, I know, I can share with you. Government doesn't function with total destruction. Government functions with fear, psychosis, which it creates in everybody. It's omnipresent over whole the jurisdiction. And for that, government can take strong action against only few. He can't everybody. He can't attack a large percentage of people. He can't destroy. So government was shattered at that moment of time. I was hearing just Mr. Subramanian, that one lady is using that Satyagraha, demanding army special power act from that region. Now, I think as a Gandhian, we need to apply some mind, though applying mind to contemporary processes and events in politics, it can be little hazardous. You are not very free to speak about the things which have immediate consequences. So here we have to understand that the Satyagraha by the lady, whether it is true, near to truth, as near to truth as Mahatma Gandhi. Personally, because there has to be an answer. Personally, I feel that Satyagraha as a weapon had not been rightly applied by she, because her demand is not as close to truth, as close to the welfare of everybody as it should be. We must recall, I recall today, that in Ladakh there were non-government organizations which were saying that roads should not be wider than 10 feet. They had went to Supreme Court. Their argument was it will destroy the environment. That is true. Roads can destroy the environment, but it was not actually part of the wider truth that we are in conflict with China and we need roads for our defense. So that is why Satyagraha, though it is being used, it is being applied by some people, but it will succeed only when it is really true and it is not motivated, or it is not just true for a small section of people or 2 or 3%. It is true. So Supreme Court rightfully rejected that plea in the end. That is for Satyagraha. Ahimsa also we have something to say. We all have been applying our mind. We all have been thinking that Gandhi's Satyagraha, as on today, can it bring global peace? And if that way global peace, then what can be the path to that? There must be a roadmap to that. Just like every big plan is not objective oriented only, it must have a roadmap. Perhaps today the roadmap goes through United Nations, global peace communities, and all those things. But anybody, if and can study that Ukraine war or Taiwan crisis, can it can we have any say? Can any Gandhian tackle it? Perhaps we need real Gandhi. Real Gandhi means Gandhi was not only saying something, he was practicing that thing. He was ready for the consequences also for speaking the truth. And that is why rightly we say, when we say Mandela was Gandhi in Africa, so Mandela actually practiced his principles. He went ahead. Martin Luther King went ahead, gave his life. So what we are thinking, what we are studying, perhaps it will go to large number of people globally. They will understand the process. They will understand the uh, roadmap, and then perhaps they will go towards those global peace.
There's something coming.
Oh. Hello.
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay.
Please go ahead.
Okay, okay.
Yes,
Uh,
hear you now.
The mic king there.
Hmm? You want to say
So,
something?
oh, Mr. Subramaniam has come.
technology is
You want to say something, Dr. Subramaniam? You want to say something? Dr. Subramaniam, do you want to say something?
I'm around. I'm sorry I complete my present. I was talking to some India.
No, please go ahead, Dr. Pandey.
Can you hear me?
It's all right.
I'm not some noises.
I think
Phone connection.
Do you want to say something or you are playing music?
Oh,
आप बोलिए आप बोलिए आप बोलिए
uh,
आप बोलिए पांडे साहब आप
sorry,
बोले
sorry for the interruption. We are thinking that that we today cannot do everything unless there the principles of Gandhi and the motivation to understand to use the peace and satyagrah for global peace is spread over large people there. The principle is unless it is known to other places and practiced and really practiced like Gandhi. So this is big thing, and we are dedicated to spread that message of Gandhi and that process and roadmap so that it can be understood by people there who are in forefront. The lady who is practicing it for removal of special powers, army special power act, for that particular area. There has to be somebody who extracts the truth out of that and works for that. Similarly, in other places of the world, as UNESCO and global organizations have suggested, these principles give people to fight with government with larger organizations. And that is how we arrive at the answer to my first problem. That was Nagasaki ended the war with Japan. Now, had there been these principles applied from the very start, bigger organizations can be negotiated with truth in front of them because they cannot continue with false things, with false principles, with false and untrue things. They have moral right to show that our government, our big organization is correct. And that is why Satyagraha by other people can always move their consciousness, though some people may have to sacrifice, but that sacrifice will be very small compared to the full-fledged conflict which takes place in the world. So today we conclude with the thing that the principles of Gandhi has to be made understood by UN, by bigger organizations like that, to globally, so that people know how to put governments and big organizations on meal without actual armed conflict. And that will lead us to the global peace in the world and overall uh, overall
Can
development
I?
of the world faster than what we think. In the last, with a
When they ask you
small
to speak, then you speak.
small word from the our last knowledge, I say that there are four principles of politics: Dam, Dam, Dand, and Bhed. Unfortunately, this Dand is considered to the first.
Can I interrupt you for a minute, gentlemen?
Okay, please go ahead.
I am back in the line and I'm watching all of you and I can also hear all of you. And I'm so sorry I had to interrupt Mr. Pandey because my own talk was interrupted. You know, I was talking about a young lady from Manipur who went on a fast. For 16 years, she remained on a fast. And she demanded, her demand was very simple: remove the Armed Forces Special Powers Act from here. So many people are being killed without any justification, and government of India never bothered. They had to, she had to drop the fast, her hunger strike with the help of friends. But the government of India never accepted the demand. A very Gandhian demand, very good Satyagraha she committed for 16 years. Can you believe it? A young woman who gave 16 years of her life demanding only a simple repressive law, Armed Forces Special Powers Act should be removed, but nothing was done. So what is this Gandhianism in India? There is no Gandhi in India. Gandhi is dead. Gandhi is gone. We have to revive Gandhi. I am so happy that all of you are trying to revive Gandhi and bring him back. Thank you very much. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, Mr. Subramaniam. Last word, you said very rightly that we must revive Gandhi not only in India but globally, and
Yes, I think so.
that is the purpose of our society, and we are dedicated to doing that with our humble effort, whatever we can do. So, thank you, everybody. Thank you for listening for this much time. It has been nice time. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Neeraj
you,
ji.
Professor Narayan. Professor Narayan, thank you very much because I enjoyed the discussion and I think let us fight for Gandhi now. Let's fight to revive Gandhism in India.
Okay, okay.
Why not? Why can't we do that?
Thank you.
Okay.